Welcome everyone to Best Practices for Leading Your Chapter. I'm Michael Fitzwater. I'm with Special Events Virginia in the Great Region 2, and I'm also the former Region 2 Director. One thing I learned is my time as a Region 2 Director is that no matter where the state, the location, the people, everyone here has the same issues. We have focus issues on board calls, creating successful events, engaging members, increasing attendance at our events, and attracting quality board members. I have a great panel today that's had some success in all these issues, and that's some of the things we're going to discuss today. So let me introduce our panel to you. I have Stephen Eisenstein, a certified event rental professional from Classic Tents and Events in Georgia in Region 3. I have Brittany Sherwood from Tents Unlimited in Connecticut in Region 2. And I have Maureen Hawkness from Creative Event Rentals in Region 7. As we go through our presentation today and our panel discussion, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in to the chat area, and we'll answer them as time allows at the end.
I don't even know what I would do.
Well, I don't.
Somebody, if you're not a presenter, you could mute. That would help you out greatly. Awesome. So our state associations, the purpose of the ARA chapters, give you educational and networking opportunities, deliver information on legislative and regulatory issues to the event, the equipment and event rental industry. So these chapters are geared towards achieving these objectives, main objectives, networking. I think I moved past that. So next slide, slide 4. Chapter objectives, yes. Networking with industry professionals, providing access to rental-specific training and education, learning about issues involving the rental industry, and providing a pipeline for future leaders. All of these things have come into play at one point or another. You have a state association policy that kind of gives you guidelines for how to achieve these objectives. The required social and educational events provide the networking and rental specific training. State involvement in caucus and the Government Affairs Committee helps states become informed on issues and challenges. The state involvement in leadership conference, women in rental conference, and the YP conference helps identify future leaders. While the state association may seem like a checklist, I like to think of it as more of a roadmap for a successful board. The things we're going to first discuss is running efficient board meetings. And I'd like to ask Maureen to start the discussion on that, please.
First, find the unmute button. Good morning, and thank you so much for having me. I am the ARA of Arizona's local president, maybe more by default than by choice, but that's part of the challenge of that we're talking about and recruiting boards. So I sort of put my hand up that I could volunteer, and I made one meeting, and maybe this is personal, but I made one meeting and I think my entire board resigned the next, like sort of in the next coming 2 meetings. So we went from having 5 of us to having me. So I have an entirely new board. I think we're all super engaged, and my piece, I think, is leading from a place of being prepared, being conscious of how much time everybody has to give or doesn't have to give. So asking everybody to be prepared, and that's a huge piece of making sure everybody's distributed the agenda, has had their input to it, has put some thought behind what we're going to talk about before we actually get on a call. We look back to what we've done in our past meetings. We are in this chapter trying to host a quarterly meeting, education and networking, just networking, education and networking. So we're trying to rotate it up. And that has been working really well for this chapter. We've gone from, in the last 18 months, I believe, of having 4 people in attendance at a meeting to our last meeting was sold out with over 20, 30 attendees at Topgolf. I think one of the things I can't talk about enough is utilizing our ARA representative. Daniel, I couldn't do this without you. I couldn't do it without the help and support of the ARA, the things that they keep me on path and track, knowing what to do, the reminder of getting my agenda together and really supporting the board as a whole. Joining forces with some of the regional leaders. Andrew is terrific help as well, as far as helping us understand what other chapters are doing, not recreating the wheel. That's a recent picture from our Top Golf event a few weeks ago, middle of September. From that event, I'd like to say we came out of it with 6 or 7 new members. And I think that's kind of my spiel of how we're engaging our board in Arizona.
Sounds great. Sounds like a good job out there to recreate that board. I'd like to throw a question out to all the panelists, and that is, after your member meetings, how do you debrief concerning the attendance, the income, expenses, and that sort of thing for debriefing after you have a member meeting?
I guess I can speak to Arizona. We put it on the agenda for the following month's meeting. And then we all rally together about, was it successful? We look at, did we engage and get new membership out of it? We have a call list that we use internally, calling members that were in attendance. We're hoping to collect phone numbers and track. I know ARA doesn't sort of have the phone list, the email list for us, but we do engage in that locally to send out thank yous for everybody and asking people to come to our next event.
Okay.
And what was the spend? Was the ROI on the event worth it?
Stephen, Brittany, any thoughts on debriefing after your meetings?
Brittany, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of build on what Maureen was saying. For us, we obviously similar, you know, we go over old business, we recap how everything went and spending, any vendors we might have used for catering, that sort of thing. But I think the biggest piece for us, not to discredit the existing members who attend regular, you know, meetings, but the new faces to us are incredibly important. That shows us that we're growing our membership in the state, and the more new members that we have attend, the more likely they're going to bring more employees or maybe contacts that they have in the industry in the state as well. So, you know, one of our, I think it was actually our last vendor night last year, we had not just a new member store, but they attended the vendor night, and we gained a board member out of that actually, which was, you know, great. Yeah.
Stephen?
So we typically debrief at our board meeting. Once a month, we get together on a phone call and we talk about how the program went, how the success of the location was. And we try to pick different places that are all around town. So that way we're trying to attract new people in different parts of the state of Georgia. So we're trying to spread it out.
Okay, different
yeah.
locations. Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So one of our challenges I mentioned is always organizing successful events. Events sometimes look great on paper and then don't end up being great. And Stephen down in Georgia, they have a very strong board, very good success rate on doing successful events. So I'm going to ask him to talk about what they do in organizing successful events.
Great, thank you. I've been on the board for about, it feels like 10 years now. And what we try to do is at the beginning of the year, come up and sit down and talk about with the board, what the different programs, how they should be kind of looked at. So we look at, HR right now is a big thing, finding people. So we looked at a program and having an HR specialist come out and talk to us. And it was a really good meeting. We had like probably 60 people that attended. So we try to give everybody what they want. So we ask our people in the chapter, what are you having problems with? What would help you the most? And then amongst ourselves, we get together and figure out, which people could come in and speak about these different topics. And so it's been very helpful. We really ask, what your pain points are, what the challenges you're having in your business. And then after hearing that, we talk amongst ourselves to figure out, what different people could come in to help. So we've had meetings about how to deal with stolen property. We had a company come in and show us how to attach devices to different assets and track them. We've had insurance companies come in and talk to us about, different claims they've had. Someone from NER came and spoke about the National Equipment Registry and what all, as an ARA member, what you get as a member from that for free. We've also had lawyers come in and speak about contracts. We've had brokers come in and talk about selling your business and how to be prepared for it when that day comes. We've had, all different sorts of people come and help us. And we try to make it fun and exciting, and we always feed people. We always have, we've recently switched from dinners to lunchtime events. So kind of give it a little bit of, shake it up a little bit, a little different. So we've had good responses from both. But we always have food for people. And we actually do a bar too when it's in the evening. So people love a little cocktail. So that kind of gets people loosened up. And we also have had sponsors at our different meetings participate by giving us a little advertising money where they'll speak at the podium. They'll have a table at the meeting itself. And sometimes they'll even pass out, some free gifts from their company. So we have little tickets we'll hand out, and we'll at random pick these different freebies for people. So it gets people excited and keeps them on their toes and keeps them till the end of the meeting too.
And Stephen, when you typically offer sponsorship tables to outside vendors, what do you normally, how many do you normally get on something like that? Do you get 10 or 15 vendors?
No, we're lucky to have one or two. We try to keep it small and keep it intimate, and we don't want to have too many vendors. If we have 15, then it's almost like a rodeo. So that's a whole different show itself.
Got it.
But we've had good turnout, good success with people coming in, and I've had people from Point of Rental come. We've had, we've had a whole bunch of different people set up tables, and it works out pretty nice for them. And at one of our events for the Braves game, we had some sponsors as well. So, it's always good to have some associate members join us for, good sales calls for them.
Great, great.
All right, and then as you can see from this slide, this was an event we did at an axe throwing event. This was like our young professionals, the ARA Young People's Day. But typically we always have a registration table so people that are new feel welcome. We give them all name tags. We've kind of switched from stickers to things you wear around your neck because the stickers always just keep falling off. But we put their name in big bold letters and the company they're with. And it kind of is a little bit of an icebreaker for people that are really shy. You can walk up to them and just start talking right away. And then afterwards, we always take pictures on our Facebook and put them on our, we have a Facebook of Georgia account. And it's great to show other things that we've done, and then also a great place to advertise for future events.
That's fantastic. And that last thing there, follow up with first time attendees. I know we touched with that, Brittany touched with that earlier, but boy, that certainly is so important with building your roster and building the people that come to these meetings.
So true. And we're always trying to get fresh blood. So once we get new people, we want to make them feel welcome and make them feel like they're at home, and invite them to participate. And the more activity you have doing stuff, the more apt you are to come back and do, another meeting. So the more involved and the more engaged you are, the better your participation is for this event, or for this association, really.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So now my next question is, how do you guys keep your boards energized and generating fresh ideas? What do you guys do differently? What should the people out here listening to this learn from you on how you guys do this?
So I might jump in on this, kind of similar, to what Stephen was just saying about meetings and members. Your board needs to feel comfortable as well. It's not just about membership. Your board has to feel like the rest of the board is listening to their ideas and taking them seriously, and engaging with your board members, I think, is really important, and getting to know them, what their business is, what they do on the, their schedule. I mean, I know, for example, I'm on the party end of things, but someone whose tool might have a different schedule, and making sure that everyone is heard, I think, is incredibly important, because if you don't feel comfortable sharing your idea, it's not going to get shared. And the same people keep speaking and coming up with the plan, and it helps diversify what events you might host.
Okay.
We're pretty good in Georgia about trying to spread it out and have equal time for school people as well as equal time for tent and party supply stuff. And then we try to get lots of very generic speakers that can speak about all topics. So that way everybody feels included, like a sales presentation, you know, somebody who can help sell or someone from marketing is good for all avenues there.
Great. Maureen, do you have anything to add?
I think, I guess for us, it's, at least in Arizona, it was easier for me to recruit for the board that from the events side of things, as that's where my people are. So, you know, events people know how to have events. So I would say stack your board with some events people because they just know how to be able to engage and get people going.
In this world of Zoom and online meetings, how important is it for the boards to get together at least once a year in person to help build the camaraderie of the board?
Very important. Very
So
important. We have a board dinner coming up. We're all very much looking forward to. It's nice to kind of, you know, you see the faces on the Zoom call, but it definitely adds another level. And I think another point too is, you know, we have to remember that all of the board members are volunteers and work full-time jobs. And so when it is a Zoom call or just a regular call, you have to be really conscientious of people's time. So on our board, we really try, within reason, of course, we want to get the job done, but we really try to keep it as brief as possible so that people can get on with their days and, you know, get back to work, get back to their families, that sort of thing.
I think I'm piggybacking on what Brittany said. We haven't done the board dinner thing. We try to meet in person during each of our quarterly meetings that we're hosting so that we have an hour ahead of time for an in-person board meeting, whether that's in the bar, ahead of Topgolf. One of the other things that's been super successful, I think Daniel probably could speak to this too, but we did a year of board meetings on a calendar in advance. So everybody's able to plan in advance. They know that that meeting sits there. It's already on everybody's calendar. And I think that helps be cognizant of everyone's time.
Got it. Awesome. So we've got our pain points. We've got our board working. We have our great events plan. Brittany, how are we going to increase the attendance?
So for us, I mean, obviously we, like many boards, we utilize, you know, the Facebook, you know, events we can share with people who follow our page. But we have personally found that the phone calls, once those go out, that really helps gain attendance because just like I was saying before, we all have full-time jobs, but so do our members. And we all tend to get inundated with emails and Facebook posts. And, you know, you kind of think to yourself, okay, this looks great. I'm interested. I'll get to it later. And you forget about it. And so as we get closer, we try to divvy up phone calls between our board members. And we ask them to devote approximately an hour of their time to calling a segmented group of our members. And we divvy it up in large part, you know, equally, but then a lot of our board members have special relationships with some of our stores. And, you know, those who are vendors who are on our board obviously know some of them as well personally. So that relationship tends to help our attendance. We try to nurture the confidence in our board members so that they feel comfortable doing, you know, those types of things. If there's someone on our board who is more soft-spoken or less, you know, outgoing, we're willing to obviously take on more for those of us who can't ever stop talking, like myself. And then I'm trying to snail mail. We do actually, as much as, you know, it's sort of an old art farm, it still works. I've had members actually tell me personally that they saw something in the mail and that's what got them to attend. So we do still use snail mail. So we really hit them from a bunch of different angles. And then Maureen had mentioned, you know, utilizing our ARA liaisons, and, you know, they've been really incredibly helpful with all of the different templates that are available to us. And there is an invitation template that's on your Google Drive that you can use. So that's a really important tool. And, you know, on occasion, we will also use some suppliers, you know, create those partnerships for our events And, you know, when you see so-and-so is sponsoring an event, there might be a giveaway, a goodie bag, something like that. That kind of, you know, gets our members excited. We do a lot of that for our vendor night, for example. If you know you're going to, you know, potentially win something, if there's a cash prize or kind of something cool you can walk home with, that's always something that people are willing to attend for. Thank you. And then I sort of touched on this already, the personal phone call after you mail the invitation. I've said this before, but you know, the relationships that you're forming are incredibly important. Making members and board members also feel comfortable. When you engage with someone at an event and they feel like they recognize you and you remember them and you know, might say, okay, how's your family? How are your kids? We found that they're more, we're not doing, I mean, we generally are interested, but it helps them feel more comfortable attending future events. And so the more people you engage with, the more, you know, you memorize names, you get to know these people, the more they feel like this is a community and not just some business event that they're being forced to attend. And they're more likely to get more out of their ARA membership as well. And again, I touched on the Facebook event. Social media for certain segments of our attendees is incredibly important. I know for me, when I have an event that I'm invited to and there's an ARA, or excuse me, there's a Facebook invitation, I get reminders, and I need reminders. I need multiple reminders for events. And I think many of us do. And so that social media is an incredible tool.
Very, very well noted. Yes, absolutely. The one point I wanted to highlight on that was the independent manufacturers reps. I always found that they were incredibly valuable because they would schedule their travel to our state around the time of the event. And so the week leading up to it, they were knocking on doors, making sales calls, and then also plugging the state event as well. And that's a great resource to have for your states. Maureen, you've gone through this recently. I know we all sort of have a bit of this, but how do you identify potential board members?
I guess one of the places we started was with James Auerbach and Daniel, and sort of putting the word out from that perspective. We did it at leverage some already existing committee members, I think, on the ARA. That's how Brady Castro from Pro-Am came to us. He was an existing, I think he's on the large business, large acquisition board or something committee. And then we just all started, I reached out to some of the general managers locally and to see if we could rally up some interest in the board. And in fact, at a certain point, we had too many people interested. So that was a good problem to have. And frankly, people are still interested in joining the board and staying on the board. We just renewed 2 terms. So I'm excited to see what's to bring here for us.
I will tell you that having James and Josh, they came along late post-COVID, and it's been a game changer for a lot of the state associations and a lot of the enthusiasm of the local membership to have them traveling around. We just utilized James and had him out here actually to talk about, he spoke at the Topgolf event to talk about the features and benefits of being an ARA member, because while I can talk about it all day long, as sort of a lifelong member, I don't have the back door to it like James does. So he was able, and plus he then followed up with everybody he met. It goes back to utilizing the ARA family. Worked really well for us. Stephen, Brittany?
I was just gonna, sorry, go ahead.
No, ladies first.
Thank you. So we actually, you know, I think like a lot of small states, because Connecticut is a fairly small state, we can find it challenging to add new members yearly. And we have one of our board members is going to be joining the regional director's team soon. And so we were kind of on the prowl. And Alex was incredibly helpful, and I reached out to her, and she had made the suggestion to send out an email. And I forget which state it was. It might have been New Jersey had done that exactly. And you know, that email we got a response right away. Sometimes it's as simple as that. But of course, you know, another board member, we were sort of kind of watching from afar during one of our events and seeing who engaged with a lot of different people. And I think that when you're finding board members, just because someone wants to join doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be someone who helps contribute to sort of the ultimate job that you're doing. You want people who are going to put the work in, commit, and understand what kind of commitment there is. And when you see someone who's engaging and participating, I feel like that's a really good indicator of how they might be.
Certainly. Stephen?
So I was just going to say that we're trying out one thing this year we've never done before. We are putting out a calendar, and we've actually opened up to sponsors to have a $500 advertisement in their calendar as well. And so far, we've already had 3 companies say yes, and we haven't really tried very hard yet. So this is going to show all our future dates for our board meetings, or as well as our ARA quarterly meetings we do. And then we're going to put on the calendar, you know, the other special events like the ARA show in February and other things that are going on. So that is Michael, like you mentioned earlier, we have an MTA rep that actually does a lot of sales calls, and he calls on different states. And he actually has been, we put together the next 2 programs on a sheet of paper, and he's been passing them out to the sales calls that he goes on. So he's also helping put the word out. So both those things have been very helpful to kind of find new people and find new members to join us.
Thanks, Stephen. It's awesome. Before we wrap up, I did want to share with you all a success thing that the ARA of New Hampshire had. They put together an emerging leaders dinner. They sent out mail and email to owners and asked them to have their up and coming leaders within their companies come to a dinner. So the board provided the dinner, and the chapter president talked about what board membership looked like, and they were able to get 4 new board members, all YPs, from doing that up and coming emerging leaders dinner. So that's congratulations to New Hampshire for thinking outside the box. I know it's real tough up there for them. I want to thank you for your commitment to the board. I want to thank my panelists for being here and preparing and great discussion points. I do want to remind you that a recording of this, it will be available later on Rental U. And I wanted to see if there were any questions of the panelists. I don't see any in the chat, but we could certainly open it up if there are some direct questions we could address.
We could also do tent jokes, I suppose, right? All right, not a very
that just goes to show you how thoroughly our panel has covered everything, that there are no questions. But
I hope that's true.
I do appreciate you guys spending your afternoon with us. And if you can't get more of us, you can go to Rental U and watch it again. Thank you so much. And thanks to ARA for the concept and for putting this together. I certainly appreciate you guys allowing me to host it. And once again, I do thank our panelists and everyone out there today. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.